Here's Brody Brazil.
You know, typically with pro sports athletes, once they retire, there are two distinct paths to choose from. First, you can just lay low, maybe spend some time with family and totally get away from the job and the sport that was your career, your profession, your livelihood for typically so many years. The other avenue to take is to just stay right in it. And obviously you need to find a new role. You're not playing anymore, but maybe you're a coach. Maybe you're in a front office. Maybe you're an agent. Maybe you're a broadcaster. In the case of Tom Brady, he's choosing to stay in the National Football League, but he's also doing it in simultaneous fashion. He's got two different things going on. They're unique, they're distinct, but to some, they're also a conflict of interest, and now this is at the forefront of the conversation. Most everybody knows that Brady's going to start calling NFL games this season for Fox Sports, so we'll get to that, but we'll do that later on. First, I want to update you on his involvement with the Las Vegas Raiders. For a while now, he's been trying to buy into that team. To be clear, he's not trying to be the majority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's trying to buy in to Mark Davis's Las Vegas Raiders. So Tom Brady submitted a bid for Raider ownership, part ownership, back in May of 2023. And to understand, that wasn't just yesterday. That is far more than a year ago from now here, as we're almost in September of 2024. But there's really been no movement, no public developments on that front of the bid he made to try and buy in on the Raiders. Initially, owners across the NFL, they had concerns about the discounted price that Tom Brady was going to get in for. And you understand, if you're Mark Davis, you want Tom Brady as part of your ownership group, as just part of your group, part of your inner circle. But if you could add him at the ownership level, you might be willing to cut Tom Brady a deal because he's Tom Brady. He might offer you some unique things that possibly nobody else could. Problem is, all the other owners out there, they realize it's not so much getting Brady on your team. It's the fact that in the valuation of teams, he's kind of bringing that down. If he can buy in for a lesser price, why wouldn't everybody else want to in the near future? This is what Colts owner Jim Irsay said back then about this. Quote, "The number has to be a reasonable number for purchase price from Tom is the only thing. If reasonable value says that 10% should be $525 million, you can't pay $175 million, end quote. So obviously Jim Irsay is saying the value has to be what the value actually is. If it's Tom Brady or anybody else, we can't discount prices even though he's in the NFL family. Even though he's Tom Brady, this is going to hurt, obviously, the other owners around the league. And so we continue to March of 2024. So now we're talking 6 months ago, and the owners get together and they bring up a bunch of different issues, but they choose not to address this at all. They don't even talk about taking a vote. There's no vote. There's no movement on the matter with those NFL owners meetings back in March of 2024. Eventually, if this did come to a vote, if they were ready to vote on it, you don't need the entire league to agree. You need a little bit more than half. You need 24 of 32 teams, about 75%, to vote yes and approve Tom Brady's ownership, part ownership of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Roger Goodell, the NFL's commissioner, was asked, are you guys delaying this forever? Are you just putting it off? Are you avoiding this? He said back in March of 2024, quote, "I wouldn't say it's a delay. We go through a thorough process. I think it's making progress." What a tongue twister of a quote that was. A little bit of word salad there, right? So define progress, define what's going on. For somebody to want to buy into an NFL team, and it's Tom Brady, and the fact that he's had to wait now, what are we talking, a year and a half since initially putting in his bid? I mean, you'd have to think even the price has changed. The valuation has changed. But the NFL is almost choosing to look the other way on it. They just don't seem to want to move forward on this. Okay, so you understand that's where the Raiders ownership thing stands right now. It's not a yes, it's not a no, it's just on the table, it's out there in conversation. But while that process continues, apparently, Tom Brady's work with Fox Sports also has come up in the news, and this was from NFL meetings earlier this week. I think it was in Minnesota's where the teams got together, and this is an article from ESPN. Quote, the league confirmed to ESPN that among the restrictions, Brady would not be permitted to be in another team's facility, would not be permitted to witness practices, and would not be permitted to attend broadcast production meetings either in person or virtually. Why are we talking about this? Because if Tom Brady does have an in with the Las Vegas Raiders, he has basically planted his flag in Las Vegas from a commitment level, from a financial level, then owners around the league are saying, wait a second, we don't want you having advance information to our personnel, our headquarters, our teams, our staff members. Why would we do that? That is something that league teams do for their broadcast partners, like when you're an announcer for ABC or ESPN or Fox or NBC. Yeah, there are these perks, there are these things that help you do a better job in the broadcast. You're allowed to be at the team's facility. In fact, most media members are. You're allowed to witness practice, like when they actually run the plays that they might run in that week's game. You get to watch it. You don't get to necessarily disseminate information about it, certainly video or pictures or even descriptions, but you're allowed to witness it. And you also get to go to these broadcast production meetings, which usually include a lot of one-on-one time with a coaching staff, a head coach, an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. That's like gold. And I'll be honest, as a broadcaster myself, I mean, where would I be without at least a lot of the inside knowledge to help formulate opinions, even if you can't use all of it? Does this make sense? Like, even if some of this stuff is, hey, we can't really talk about this, but I want you to know this is how it goes. So now I can take that and formulate it and have a better grasp and understanding and a better translation of it to a viewer at home. So you're not giving away all the secrets, but you're at least able to kind of go in those directions and be a lot better broadcaster. You're more informed. You're able to pass that along. But the league is basically saying Tom Brady right now has these Brady Broadcast Restrictions. That was actually a headline on one of the keynote presentations that the NFL did at this meeting. From the ESPN article, potentially this would affect only the 7-time Super Bowl champion and would not apply to other members of Fox crews. Obviously, they're normal. They're just doing their jobs. They're not trying to buy in on the Las Vegas Raiders, or maybe that does or doesn't happen for Brady. They're normal members of the media and production crew, so they get to still utilize those perks. A league source told ESPN that owners had raised several questions about conflicts of interest in Brady's potential role, obviously as owner, but now for sure as a broadcaster with Fox Sports. If he ultimately becomes part owner of the Raiders, there are even deeper things that he'll have to adhere to. Like we just talked about, you can't go to the practice facility, can't do media sessions, the broadcast production meetings. But if he becomes Raider part owner, and this is according to ESPN, he would be prohibited from publicly criticizing game officials and other clubs, right? As an owner, you can't typically do that without a fine. While Brady could, in theory, state that he disagrees with a call on the air, like most broadcasters like to do and are supposed to do, he would be subject to fines or even a suspension if he went too far. This is the most interesting one of all, because this really puts the handcuffs on a broadcaster when they can't just be honest. I'm not even saying be personal or critical about a situation or a team or an individual. Like when you can't even really go there and you have to be vanilla and generic, it doesn't make for a good broadcast or broadcaster. He would be subject to the league's gambling policy. That one's kind of obvious if you're a part owner. He'd be subject to the league's anti-tampering policies. He would be permitted only strictly social communication with members of other clubs, according to the slide that the league presented. Essentially, if you want to call up your buddy and say, hey, about that play on second down last week, I just want to, for my personal information so I can be better on the broadcast, what were we doing there? He can't do that. He's very limited in what he could do. Again, if he's Raider part owner, but even right now, the situation is limiting him in the resources he has. And for Tom Brady, like he's already made the commitment to Fox. I mean, he's trying to get in with the Raiders still, but for Fox, he signed this deal when he was still a player. It begins here in 2024, a 10-year, $375 million contract to call NFL games. From The Athletic, they say that a network source said Fox Sports had no concerns about these limitations. Fox Sports has declined to comment. So I think when you're looking at it from the Brady perspective, like, could he still be a very good broadcaster without all of this advanced information? Yeah, of course. But in really digesting some of the limitations and things that he would be restrained to, like, it's going to make his job as a first-time broadcaster so much more difficult. And it almost seems like, quite honestly, if you're going to do this, if you're really going to lean into this, and America really wants this from you, then maybe the Raider thing was an idea. Maybe that was a different time. Maybe you should move on from it. I'm not doing takeaways in this video. I typically do those. But if I'm Tom Brady and you're already kind of going this route, maybe you ought to just be really good at that and just start there, right? Do you really want to get into two totally different things once you've just retired from playing? You've done pretty well for yourself, buddy. Like, you don't need all of this. Choose one of these and be really good at it. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I'm glad you made it all the way here. Thumbs up down below since you made it to the end. That'll greatly help me and this video and this channel. I would like that, but I would also love it if you just take 1 second while you're still here, while this video is still going, go down there and hit that subscribe button. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.